Good day, learners. I am Shalane Grace Beatrice, and today we will be talking about soil.
Life on Earth is a product of different interactions in a region or geographic area where both biotic factors such as plants, animals, and other organisms, antibiotic factors like weather and landscape work together. This area is called ecosystem. Living things cannot sustain life without non-living things. For instance, mangrove tree needs water and muddy soil to survive together with other life forms. This lesson will discuss the interactions of organisms to their physical environment. Specifically, this will help you describe such interactions in estuaries and intertidal zones. And in these lessons, let's hear it from the next reporter. Bye-bye!
This lesson will discuss the interaction of organisms to their physical environment, which specifically this will help you describe such interaction in estuaries and intertidal zones. Estuaries are areas where saltwater and freshwater meet. Normally, running water in river goes into the sea. Water in estuaries is less salty. The measure of saltwater is called salinity. Thus, estuaries have low salinity. The level of the salt contents of water affect the ability of the organisms to survive. Organisms require energy to perform life activities. In this case, they need to eat food. I want you to analyze the figure. Observe the pattern how organisms interact and get energy.
I am Resident Mi Tahanlangit. For today's video, I will be going to discuss about intertidal zones. Intertidal zones are areas where the presence of water depends on the tides. During high tide, these are covered with water. During low tide, the water diminishes and exposes the part of the seabed area. This part of the sea can be sandy, rocky, or muddy, depending on the presence of different materials. Just like in estuaries, organisms in intertidal zones need energy to live through eating food. Let's analyze the figure. Let's observe the different organisms and imagine how they interact and get energy. And both estuary and intertidal zone organisms have different roles to perform. Producers. They are organisms that produce food from sunlight and inorganic substances. Phytoplankton, algae, seagrasses, and salt marsh are examples of producers. Consumers are organisms that eat other organisms. Sea urchin, green crabs, mollusks, and anemone are examples of consumers. While scavengers are organisms that eat food scraps and leftovers. Examples of scavengers are rag crab, large fish, and mollusks. Decomposers are organisms that break down into simpler materials from the remains of dead organisms. Bacteria, fungi, and marine worms are examples of decomposers.